you're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I'm always a big fan of comedy. I've had a lot of comedians on my show, and of course, I like to think I'm pretty funny at times, and definitely not funny at other times. So I'd like to have comedians on the show to kind of lighten up the podcast, where normally I do talk about health, wellness, and social interaction. So having on comedians is just a good way to kind of break things up a little bit and keep it spicy. So today is no different. I wanted to have on stand-up comedian Bob Phillips. You can follow him on Instagram at Bob the Suit. Very funny dude. Hung out with him a couple times on one of our favorite shows, one of the most popular shows of all time, and that is Crossing the Streams, which is a live TV show that I've had the privilege of being on a couple times, where we goof off about streaming TV series, movies. So check that out, Crossing the Streams. But Bob the Suit, this was a good conversation. You guys are going to love this thing. Everyone, please help me welcome Bob Phillips.
And he had his foot on the stage in a cast, and it was just unobtrusive. It was off to the side, but he was trying to enjoy the show and not he was told to keep his leg up. So he asked me, and when I took the stage, he goes, "You okay if I said, yeah, man, that's fine. Don't worry about it." And I asked him about his leg. We had a couple jokes about that. And then this comedian who had been drinking Long Island iced teas, multiple, this big, these kinds of iced teas,
The big boys.
And she took the stage, and the first thing out of her mouth, she looked at this guy and said, "Get your fucking foot off my stage."
Whoa.
This guy goes, "I'm sorry, I was Bob." So she goes, "I'm not Bob." I'm like, whoa, okay. So the audience hated her. Literally
From the
hated
get,
her.
yeah.
From the get. And they turned on her. And there was about 30 people in the middle who had bought. There was a big family and friends. And they're yelling. She's yelling at them. They're yelling at her. And then there was a fight in the audience. And then there was a mini riot. The cops were called. And we had to file them out the back.
Whoa.
And I'm all done with my set by now. And I'm standing there in a suit and tie.
Sure.
And, so... I thought, well, I may have to throw down, but I'll plan it out. So, yeah, that happens sometimes.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I mean, have you? We're recording, by the way.
Oh, we are, okay.
Yeah, we'll just keep it going. I don't like to really edit anything. I just keep it flowing, and if it happens, it's all good. Of course, if you want me to edit something out, if you talk shit about somebody, I could do that too.
No, that's fine.
But
that's why I don't want to mention any names.
That's smart. That's smart. Yeah, I mean, the millions and millions of subscribers of the Baroda podcast. We don't want, things that leaked out, But did you have any bad experiences like yourself, kind of like that? Like, not
with
that aggressive, but
audiences?
Yeah, hecklers or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, if
out.
you're in this business, you're gonna get that from time to time. But I've been doing it for a long time, over 20 years, and the thing is, during that time, I might have had a half a dozen true hecklers. Hecklers meaning they wanted to insult me, they wanted to get me off my game, or they wanted to get the spotlight on them.
Right.
Usually drunk, usually male.
Sure. Well, in most of those clubs, I mean, there's always, at least here in Florida, it's always a 2-drink minimum. So, like if you're doing, I always thought about that, like as a stand-up, you literally go in and everyone's 2 drinks to the face right away.
That's a great premise for a joke. Who else's job requires that their supervisors have 2 drinks? Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, you can take that one. I'm sure you can form it into a good bit. But
I like that. I'm going to do that.
It's so weird. Like, imagine if I was, I don't know, like a construction worker, and there's a sign that as soon as you show up, it says, "Okay, ladies and gents, take a breathalyzer. You need to make sure you're at least buzzed by the time you get in and start working." And you're just like, that's so strange.
It is a very funny premise. I like that. I might do that tomorrow. I have a show in a monthly show we have in my hometown. It's a little theater. It seats about 120, 130, and we sell it out every month, and it's just a blast. It's the place where
That's a good room.
I do new material, and because it's a friendly place. It's my show with my show partner Sal D'Amelio.
Oh yeah, good old Sal.
Yep.
Shout out Sal. But sorry, I was interrupting you. So yeah, you had a couple hecklers.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody has had the aggressive hecklers, and I haven't had many. I think it's because I kind of look like the guy that would get angry with them. So
right. You do kind of have that feeling, like an Irish mobster.
I'm a cranky grandpa when I am. So the aggressive ones, they're usually drunk and they want to impress somebody at the table. They're angry that you're up there and not them because people have told them they're funny their whole life, but they don't know how to do it, or they just can't do it, whatever. Right. And so that's kind of where a lot of heckling comes from. And like I said, maybe a half a dozen times total where somebody has been really crappy, like, bring on the next guy or something like that. I can't even remember exactly what it was. Usually, and these aren't really hecklers, although this is really popular on TikTok. I'm sure you've seen all these heckler moments that these comedians put out. And it's become a thing. To me, it's like, you're baiting them, you're egging them on, and you're wanting that moment, which is fine. Crowd work is fun, but I don't work with the crowd. I just tell my jokes. Right. And if they want to, sometimes, and these are not hecklers, they're just people that, they forget for a moment they're in a theater or a club, and they'll just blurt something out like, "Oh, that's my sister does that too," They're not trying to be rude. They just have a little too much to drink. Right. And then, so you don't want to embarrass them or smack them down. You'll let my policy is always let the first one go. Just let it go, because there's no reason to derail what you're doing because somebody blurted something out. Chances 80% of the time they never say anything else. So you let the first one go, and if they do it again, then you make sure the audience hears what they said. You repeat. You say, "I'm sorry, you said what?" And then you repeat to the audience, so they understand why you're talking to this person. Because even 3 rows back, people are not going to hear someone who's talking to the stage, right? So you repeat what they said, and then you riff on that for a little bit. There's always something funny, right? Because somebody is just derailed an entire show, and people are nervous, and if you call the moment, they appreciate it and they'll laugh with it. So generally speaking, that's all that happens. It's usually good-natured, and you just have to kind of, like I said, let the first one go. If it keeps on, you can't let them take over the show. You got to acknowledge it, make a few jokes, put them in their place, and then go. Yeah,
and again, it's one of those things where I'm paying good money, right?
Yes.
Like that's probably me, by the way. Let me silence that. But yeah, I mean, I'm paying good money, so I don't want to fucking hear some jabroni in the crowd trying to, make their friends laugh. That is kind of interesting. One of my favorite places I went to, I don't even want to call it a club. I forget where we were. I think we were in San Francisco. That nice, gorgeous part of California. And we ended up going into this like rundown club that we found on. Maybe it was Groupon, where it was like a BOGO, and it was like $20. And we ended up going into this like underground club, it looked like, but we walked in and it kind of looked like someone just took a big basement and put black curtains all over it and one like key light.
It happens all the time.
But that was probably one of our favorite comedy clubs. Like we've been in the Improv, we've been to, I've seen comedians like Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan at Madison Square. Like it was... That is great. Those big arenas are great, but there's something really cool about those underground, like you said, 100 people, 120 people. Like it's so intimate. And even if you're doing a little crowd work, it's fun, but it's more like, as a spectator at least, and maybe you could tell me as a comedian, but as a spectator, I feel that I need to not talk as much or not at all. I'm almost scared a little bit because there's only 50 people or 100 people versus like an arena. I could shout out to Kevin Hart and he's not going to hear shit. So, you know what I mean? Like, that intimate spacing is kind of better, I would imagine.
I prefer clubs over theaters. Like I said, I do this theater every month in my little hometown here, and it's but if you can imagine, it's an intimate 120, 130. But I do prefer clubs, smaller stages, low ceilings.
Right. Better sound, I would imagine, too.
Yep. Yeah, better sound. And because the thing is, distance in a club is the enemy of comedy. You want to put people as close together as possible without them being uncomfortable.
Sure.
Because it's a communal thing. It's not, it's me speaking. It's one person speaking and
That's right.
getting jokes out. But it's like the best thing I can liken it to is that everybody was predicting during the height of the pandemic that movie theaters were all going to go under. That's never going to happen. It's taken a while for people to come back, but people want that experience. They don't want to watch first run shows on their TV. There's no juice to that. You want to sit in the dark with strangers. I don't know why, but So proximity is important in a club or a.
Yeah, that's funny you say that about the movie theater because I never thought of it until I saw Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
That's when I realized, because that was like the first time, I've been to theater since the pandemic. Obviously, slowly they've opened up, but that was the first time where it was a big, packed, sold out. Like Spider-Man No Way Home too, that's a good example. But there was something special about Top Gun, kind of similar to Spider-Man, where there was all different emotions going on, and you were so close. You were so close to that person next to you, a complete stranger you've never met before. You're probably never going to see again. And you're sharing these moments. And there was even a couple times
weird.
Especially like in Top Gun where you saw, right? I think we talked about this on
I did. Yeah, I finally wound up seeing it.
Fantastic, right?
Yeah, it was fantastic. The first time I went, I think I said on the other show, Crossing the Streams, and this is true.
Yeah.
I 20 minutes in, I'm like, I can't deal with this bro culture right now. I'm just, this, hey bro, and the muscle out.
Sure.
I didn't want to deal with it that night, and so I left. Then I came back and saw it. And I really dug it. It's a great movie.
Yeah. By the way, for people listening, left the movie theater, right? Because you didn't want to deal with it, and then you're like, fuck it. I heard Crossing the Streams. Let me go back.
Yeah.
Shout out Crossing the Streams, the #1 streaming show on the planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of cool. Like I when I first originally saw it, and there was that scene in the bar where Tom Cruise is outside and he hears what was the song? The fucking that Goose song in the first one.
Oh yeah.
Playing the piano. Of course, I hit a brain fart right when I'm telling this great story.
Yeah, me too.
But so he's playing the song, and Tom Cruise is looking through the window. Yeah, it's in my head, and he's literally watching it, and he's seeing the flashback of Goose from the original. And this is 30 years ago. If people don't understand, I made my wife watch the movie right beforehand, and it made sense to her. But for me, I haven't seen it prior to that in probably 10 years. It's not something you watch every weekend. And there was like massive, even just talking about it, I have goosebumps because you get the feeling that you felt.
Yeah.
When Goose originally died in Top Gun, and you get all that rushing back, even with very minimal flashbacks. And then I looked to the guy next to me, and he was like, some heavier set dude. He's with his family. He's got like 2 kids and his wife, and he looks, and we're both kind of like looking at each other like we're not going to cry together.
You're going to ugly cry in the theater.
But then all of a sudden, but like I look next to him and I go, because my wife, she didn't get as misty. It's a But for me as a bro, it's a very special moment, right? So I look at the guy, and then as soon we lock eyes, and I'll never forget it because it was dark, but you hit the fly, and we lock eyes. It wasn't gay. It could have been if my wife wasn't there. And I look at him, and we just kind of go, okay. And then I turn back, I look at the screen, and I just catch myself going, and I had to choke back. And there's something special in that.
You can't have that moment sitting. Right. You can feel it sitting in your living room watching it on HBO Max.
Sure.
But it's not the same.
No.
That's one of the reasons why.
Yeah. That's why comedy
random encounters with strangers crying in the theater.
Right, exactly. And then, similar to a comedy show where it's like, it's so intimate, you're laughing, that's what I love most about the art of comedy, and that's why I love talking about it so much, is because I love going to shows. I think it's probably one of the greatest therapeutic things you could do is to laugh. If you don't have a group of friends, which I'm blessed to have a group of friends to where we can, just hit each other's elbows. You know what I mean? Like those moments of laughter where you're just nailing each other and you're rolling, and there's just something so therapeutic about that. And going to a comedy show, you do that with strangers, and 50 people or 100 people are just laughing their ass off, and they're crying because they're laughing so hard, and everything's so relatable most of the time. And it's a lot of I like comedy shows that are intimate, like you're saying, because it's a lot of, oh yeah, been there, like in your head. That's when you can live in the moment of what that storyteller is doing on stage.
Yes,
it's such a cool art form, man. So
well,
cool.
I love it, and obviously I'm not the best at it. I would be more famous, but I'm,
as long as you like to do it.
I love to do it. You know, I've been, like I said, I got 3 CDs out. I'm on XM Sirius all the time. I get booked, every weekend that I want to work. So I'm at that level of
Beautiful
notoriety. But I'm never going to be famous. I'm a 60-year-old guy.
Hey man, you never know. I mean, shit. You look at Louis C.K. He didn't get famous till he was like in his 40s, like famous.
That's true.
And
They
he was doing it
jerked
for a
off
long
in
time.
Potted plants. And,
Ricky Gervais too, another good example.
That's true. Yeah, but I'm way beyond 40s. I started at 40, but it is what it is. I'm very happy with what I'm doing and where I am.
Well, you're famous in my book.
Hey, thank you.
And I'm gonna obviously tag you in all this as well. So, hopefully you'll gain some subscribers, because Bob is funny, and Bob the Suit. He's like a master of TikTok now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys follow him on TikTok, but you are.
I only have 2,500 friends, so that's just been rolling. Because I just started TikTok, I think in June.
Yeah, that's impressive, man.
Out,
I mean, 2,500. That's not bad. I mean, I don't even know 25 people. I don't think so. 2,500 is.
Well, I don't know any of these people. There's somebody who liked some videos I put out there.
Yeah.
I do get some crossovers where people they'll come to a show and go, hey, I saw you on TikTok. I follow you, or I follow you on Twitter and that kind of thing. But it's not a ton,
Sure.
But it's cool. It's cool if it happens. Like I'm in Boston. That happened, in the spring.
That's interesting.
And like 4 people came up and go, oh, dude, we love your Twitter. We follow you, and I wasn't doing TikTok then. I was doing Instagram.
Sure. Yeah.
Just getting my feet wet. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, the one disadvantage you talk about is too late for you. Not really, man, because you don't look. What? How old you say you are? 60?
I'm 60. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. You don't look 60 at all. Like.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah. So I mean, you're already ahead of it. You had kind of a late start because of social media. So the 20 years you've been doing comedy, you haven't been doing social media for 20 years. So imagine if you did another 5 years of this. You're 65, but you blow up, and then you have another 5 years of like solidarity. I mean, look at Carlin, man. Like George Carlin. Come on.
True.
I mean, he was cranking until he was in the grave, right? So you got time, man. You just keep getting aggressive on social media because it's working.
I'm trying. Here's the thing. Just last week, was the biggest response I had on TikTok. It was like 290,000 views, I think.
Fuck.
And, I don't know, 15,000 likes, a bunch of saves and forwards. So that was cool. The next one, I dropped all the way back to 45,000. And then one I put out yesterday, which doesn't make any sense to me at all because I think it's a very punchy, funny little joke. I'm buried. 1,700 is all I got. And that's all I'm going to get. You hit
for
that
video,
moment, you hit that wave. Yeah, for that one. You hit that moment with that piece that you put up, and then it's over within a day or two,
That's right. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I found about TikTok that's different than other platforms, because, I just don't do the podcast. I own a couple companies. One is I'm a UGC creator, so I'll create content for brands and stuff. And UGC is user-generated content. So like those unboxings and the reviews and all that, I produce and film some of that stuff. And of course, me and the wife have this new business now, Meet Cutebox. Shout out Meet Cutebox. But one thing I found by doing those businesses is the more aggressive you are on TikTok in terms of like everyone's saying, oh, post every day, yada, yada. But as long as the content's good, and like you said, you might have 1,700 views, but if you're putting out 1 or 2 a day, or maybe a couple a week, 3, 4, 5 a week, more people are going to come back and they're going to see you, not only on their For You page, but they're just going to enjoy your content and you're going to get a follower out of it. And everyone's like pitching the fast game, trying to get quick followers. I realized that early on. And then I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to play the long game, and gain organic followers and real fans of the product. Because I think that's where it lives, right? Because if you get famous really quick, like you always hear these horror stories of like people getting TikTok famous or Instagram famous and they end up falling off. It's because a lot of those followers just liked 1 or 2 posts, click the follow, and then eventually they'll unfollow you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't post enough. I only post once a week, maybe twice. That's it. Because
well, do you film your whole set or do you have someone doing clips?
I film different sets in different places. The ones that are up on TikTok are, I'm going to look, relatively the same in every TikTok because I'm wearing the same black suit and tie, right? But there's shows up there from Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. There's stuff from Genetti's. There's stuff from a place, the Comedy Cabana in Myrtle Beach. So, it's from a variety of places, but the content looks relatively the same.
Sure, which is good.
Hairstyles, baby.
Yeah, which is good because you can't change your handle now. I mean, you're Bob the Suit. You can't.
Yeah, and you're
stuck.
That's kind of a weird thing. I didn't even make that up. That was made up for me. 20 years ago. There were when I was getting started, there was a lot of people. My home club was a place called Joey's in Livonia, Michigan, and that's since closed. I think about 6 years ago. I cut an album there back in 2015. So there was a lot of contests, open mics, all that kind of stuff going on. And there was a couple of Bobs besides me. And somebody decided to differentiate us by saying, okay, who's going with, it's that guy. Which Bob? Well, Bob, the suit guy, Bob the suit. So that's...
It's stuck.
That's what people call me.
That's hilarious.
So I almost hate it because it's gimmicky, and I'm not gimmicky at all. I'm just a very, I write setups and punchlines.
Yeah.
And stories.
And dude, that's what I love about your comedy because you don't see that a lot now. A lot of it is like, not there's anything wrong with it, but the Andrew Schultz style type of comedy where it's a lot of riffing, it's a lot of what seems like improv, but it's it's obviously not. I'm sure they'll go off in tangents, but they're always gonna come back to that premise, and they might go off again.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they have those bullet points, depending on how they write. But what I like about yours is it's like very like 1950s. It's quick.
Now the liver spots are flying off my hands now. I got osteoporosis just in the last 5 seconds. 50s. Okay.
Let me say, you're not like the 50s, but the 50s style, like Lenny Bruce, like that type of comedy.
Oh, Lenny Bruce, I'll take that.
You follow? Yeah.
I get it.
Are the liver spots disappearing now, slowly?
Yeah, it was funny that you mentioned that because they're fading a little bit.
They're fading slowly as we're talking. Okay.
I did, Nikki Glazer?
Sure. Yeah, she's great.
Very funny, and she's part of the Amy Schumer sort of. If there's a crowd, I don't know. There's a few of them,
yeah, that
are of that kind of particular age group and style of humor. And she's really funny, and she's really pretty. And this was when was this? Probably, 7 years ago, something like that. I got a call from the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. My friend Roger, who owns that, he said, "Hey, we have a fallout. The feature can't make it, something or other. Are you working this weekend?" I said, "No, I'm not. I'm off." He says, "Well, look, Nikki Glazer's in town. Can you open for her?" I said, "Hell yeah."
Oh shit.
So I worked with Nikki for a weekend, and she was really funny, really nice. And but she said kind of the same thing you said, and she goes, you know what I like about your stuff? It's classic humor. And that was just a nice way of saying, it's very. What do I want to say here?
You're old.
No, it's classic. You said 1950. She said classic. But I get it. I think I know what people are saying.
Yeah, that's what you say when you see like a nice Thunderbird. You're like, oh, that's a classic.
Classic.
Really what you're saying
there
is,
you go.
That
there
shit's not a
go.
Tesla. It's old.
They're like, boy, there's a lot of newer models that are so much better than that one, but that one's a classic. Yeah, but I'll take it. It's fine. That is the style I do. I mean, I like to,
Yeah, and I think
punchline.
classic is probably a better example because it's not obviously better than 1950s. But it's what I like about it is just no one's doing it. Like obviously Jerry Seinfeld, I would say is maybe the closest thing most recently, but even his stuff is back when he did his show, it was more the classic comedy that we're talking about.
Yeah, I love Seinfeld's style and the way he writes. I think I guess I probably unconsciously, we all do things unconsciously. We just kind of like the way someone moves on stage, and we just sort of pick that up. And I don't know, but I was a big fan of Robert Schimmel, and he died several years ago. But he was
the GOAT.
Yeah, he was in a black suit, black tie. He'd walk up, he'd talk into the mic. He never moved from that position. And that's what I do. I don't dance. I don't jump around. I figure I'm here to tell jokes. There's the microphone. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah, and I definitely dig it too, because sometimes when I've been to comedy shows, it's it's more like a Broadway production where it's like you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
And it's definitely funny.
Multimedia experience.
Yeah, literally. Like you're doing it for, the lights, the camera, the action. I get it. But, sometimes you just want to like sit back and just watch some comedy and just hear some jokes.
You should come to a show. You should come on out. And I appreciate you saying that. Even though you pegged me as being, what would that be now, 70 years old? No, it's cool. I'm glad to take on that mantle. Classic comedy.
Yeah, man. So you're just getting started, Bob. So I'm excited for you, bud. But you got any big shows coming up? I know you mentioned the theater. When is that?
Yeah, I've got this tomorrow is in my little hometown here. We're sold out. It's the Sal and Bob show. It's something we do monthly, and we have guests. We introduce newer comedians to the theater experience, people that are not getting a lot of stage time, or we'll have a couple of really strong vets, and the show just blows up,
Nice.
And this is our Lions season kickoff.
Lions season?
Yeah, and obviously the Lions suck, and everybody knows that. So we're going to spend a lot of time reminding people how badly they suck. It's sort of it's an ironic season opening celebration, So that's Thursday. In 2 weeks, I'm cutting a new album at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. Yeah, I've got 3 nights out there. 2 nights, 3 shows. And trying to get a new album out of that. Looking forward to that. I love putting something out new. And then I've got, I'm at the Comedy Cabana in Myrtle Beach again in October. I got a ton of one-nighters coming up. There's sort of a phenomenon that is going on that happened. It seems to me it happened right after they lifted the COVID restrictions. There's a lot of wineries. There's a lot of breweries, microbreweries.
Sure. Doing shows?
Small wine. Yeah. And what they do is they clear a place in the actual brewery. They set up a stage. Or now what they're doing is they're actually building onto these things and making small, I don't want to say theaters, but they have stages and all that. So people come in and they drink, and then they get entertained, and it becomes a whole night, So I've got I've got 4 wineries.
Oh, sick. I bet there's a
Coming up,
drink.
yeah.
I bet there's a drink minimum there, no?
There gotta be. Yeah.
Two wine glasses
One
you got to
bottle
chug.
per person. Mhm. So
No,
yeah, that's kind of a funny thing, and that's let's see, Indiana, Illinois,
Nice.
and yeah, just all over the place, wherever they put me.
That's great, man. And on all social, you're Bob the Suit.
Yep,
Bob the Suit
that's
TikTok
on
is
all.
Yeah.
All the legs that I try to hold up this table, this comedy table, right?
Yeah, man. And that's interesting about the winery because I did hear about that. That they're doing shows. I think they should do it more with movie theaters as well. You look at like movie theaters are
tried
struggling
that.
right now. Yeah, and
They
maybe
tried that.
maybe if there was like evening shows, because I know they tried it like during the day on like
Yeah.
a Saturday, but no one's going to see a fucking
Yeah, so
comedy
no-
show at 2 p.m.
Nobody wants to see that. People innately understand and get that it's afternoon, and they're not going to laugh like they will in a darkened club at 9:30 on a Friday. And people try to mess with that formula all the time, and it very rarely goes well.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, well, now there's some theaters you can drink in. There's one in a few miles from here.
Sure.
That might work, slinging the booze. But yeah, that experiment is, they do that every few years and it never works.
Yeah. Well, especially because I don't want to get loose during the day. Like I'll drink and I'll have brunch, but if anybody's had brunch in their life, they know that no matter what you eat, you end up shoveling down whatever booze you got there, whether it's a mimosa or Bloody Mary or
course.
something. And you always feel like shit afterwards. And you feel like shit like
Yeah.
at 1 p.m. and your whole day is ruined. Because you
gotta
started
take
at
a
9.
day drinking nap. Ugh.
Yeah. Day drinking is the worst. And then you wake up and it's 5 p.m. and you're hungover. Like it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it is. It takes. It's not a normal situation.
Yeah.
So people try to mess with the formula all the time, but it
Yeah.
very rarely goes well.
Yeah, talk about circadian rhythm. That'll fuck you up a little bit.
There you go.
But good. But yeah, Bob the Suit, very good. And last thing I wanted to ask you about, and then I'll let you go because we're at 40 minutes already. Didn't even know. See how time
Wow,
flies?
I haven't said anything of any importance in 40 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna start the recording soon.
Okay.
We'll see. But the one thing I did want to, like, how do you think? Because we talked a little bit about social media and how TikTok has kind of changed how you're doing things. But the one thing I would probably say is if you don't video your sets, which I know there's kind of some about that, where you don't want to give away all your material. But if you're doing the video in each set, I would recommend taking that 20-minute set and maybe just cutting that up into 15 TikToks. But if you could
That's
record
what
every
I've
set.
been doing.
Have you?
for the most
Okay,
part.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
taking little bits from different shows
Yeah.
because TikTok doesn't want anything over 30 seconds.
Yeah.
This
which
much
is
I
strange.
found out.
Yeah. I mean, I heard they're starting to get in more and more long-term video, but how do you think like TikTok and Instagram and social media, how do you think that's changed the world of comedy? Has that changed your bubble a little bit or?
It absolutely has. It absolutely has. People are less patient. I always I can always see, it's usually the younger crowd. They're sort of getting impatient for this story of mine to, get to the third or fourth punchline because they're used to TikTok just going bang, 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 and out, So, to sit in a comedy club and watch things unfold in real time, it's a new thing for them. And I'll even talk to them. I can see them. I can see it every show. I just call them TikTok Nation. There's like 6 or 8 or 10 of them come in, and they're not being rude.
Sure.
They're over in the corner, and so they got their cell phones out, and they're kind of half paying attention. They're not talking. I mean, that's rude having your cell phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see that a lot. You see that, and
Yeah,
then there's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we have changed. I've even noticed it in myself. Sometimes I have to catch myself because I'm doing this thing now where I downgraded all my streaming platforms to be free so I can watch ads. because I really noticed a sickness that I was having, and the wife in particular as well, to where every time an ad would come up, and you know, those ads like on Hulu, for example, they're a minute and 30 seconds. You get 2 ads to the face. That's it.
Yeah.
And we were noticing the second an ad hit, we'd grab our phones. And for that minute and 30 seconds, we're like getting this fucking hit of dopamine. And we're like,
yeah.
And then when the show came on, we tried to get in it, but we realized that watching like someone fall on their ass at their front porch from a Ring camera was funnier. And we just didn't.
There you go.
So, bro,
I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, so we downgraded all of our stuff so we can watch ads and we put our phone away from it. So that way we have to engage in the ad, which kind of sucks sometimes, but also too, you're not like fiending for that hit.
Yeah,
of
good
TikTok.
point. Good point. I do that too. I watch a movie with my phone, every movie.
It's so weird.
Yeah, and I'll just pause it every now and again. I go, I want to see what's going on. 10 minutes later, I go, where the hell was I? Why? Why do we do this?
Because it's
constant stimulation.
Because the phones, you know why? Because fucking TikTok is hilarious and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Like everything's so good. Like everyone's putting out photos that are gorgeous and they're putting out videos on YouTube that are engaging and funny. And it's just so hard, man, because
it is.
I feel so bad for like the movie industry. I mean, unless it's a Top Gun or a Marvel movie or something like that, like it's very hard to keep people's attention. And the times that I talk on Jeff's show, Crossing the Streams, it's so funny to hear these reviews because I take a lot of that to heart. Like I'll watch a lot of those movies, and most of them are pretty good. But some of the stuff that I watch, and like Prey, I just did a review on that, and it's a great movie. But you try to tell someone that doesn't know the Predator franchise or what it's about, like you try to explain that, they're like, I'm not going to watch that. But it's a really good, heartfelt, action-packed.
I've heard it's good. Yeah.
It's a very good movie. But people are like, I only have 10 seconds of my time. I need to watch something else. Like, it's so crazy.
I need to watch someone fall down. Oh, by the way, if your wife would appreciate if you took her to this on date night, take her to see 3,000 Years of Longing. Very good. I just saw it the other night. Yeah, Tilda
in the
Swinton,
theaters. Yeah.
Yeah, Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Is it Idris or Idris? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he plays a jinn. He plays a genie that she finds in a bottle that she, buys in some bazaar. I think it's Morocco. Really, just a nice, slow-moving, odd little romance. Very, very fun to watch.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah, I did see a trailer for that. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's anyway.
Idris is very underrated. I think he's a great actor, and he's
great in this.
Is he?
Yeah, and it's always surprises me how people say, "Oh, he's really great in this little role." Well, it's not a little role. He's a jinn. How are you going to be, for an hour and a half? I believe this guy is a mythical figure.
Yeah.
It's maybe a little movie, but it was not small acting. He's very good.
Yeah. Have you seen any other good movies lately in theater or streaming or anything?
What have I seen? Theater or streaming. Yeah, I usually talk about all these on Crossing the Streams. It's usually a boxing documentary. No, that one comes to mind. That was just in the last couple of days. So
that's a good one. Yeah.
I saw all the summer blockbusters and all that crap, the Thor and the, when you leave and you go, okay, what was that? Why?
Yeah. And it's getting so CGI, man. Like it's, that's what I really enjoyed about Top Gun. I keep, sucking on the Tom Cruise teat, but it's a really good movie. And there's no CGI in it. Like it's all real fighter planes. It's all him and the pilots in the planes. And then you look at that, a multi-million-dollar profitable movie versus like a Thor. It's pretty much Chris Hemsworth behind a green screen or in front of the green screen the entire time. And
know it now.
And you know it. And it's almost like when you see a Top Gun versus like those Marvel movies and all, it doesn't mean they're not entertaining, because they are. But we're starting to realize, I think the last like 10 years, because we've gotten so many comic book movies, we're like, we need these comic book movies. But then you watch a Top Gun, or you watch like, these other movies that you just mentioned with Idris, and they're good movies, and you're like, wait a minute, okay, this is what Scorsese was talking about. Now we're getting back to the movie theaters, where you're actually enjoying cinema and film
Yeah.
versus just CGI. So
Yeah, what do they say? What's the old saying? And when you see a movie like, the Top Gun sequel, all the money is up on screen. You see it; it's all there.
that's right.
You know.
That's right. Versus
I
in
don't know
post production
that-
and editing and all that.
Yeah, it's all there. I'm like, yeah, I get why this. What did it cost? 300 million, some crazy amount.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And a lot of that was probably just buying the planes. You know,
Yeah.
because you had to rent them for the day from the Navy.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, right.
It's not. It's. I mean, those planes itself, I think, are like $1 billion to make. I mean, so
Yeah,
they probably
I
had to
mean,
rent them for like $1 million a minute or some shit. Like, who knows?
Yeah, sure. And then to get all that. By the way, the Navy and the Air Force loves that publicity. They love that. You know.
How many recruits you think they got after that
Oh,
movie?
yeah, thousands. Thousands. That's the unspoken, sort of unintended consequence of that movie. You got a lot of people joining up.
Yeah, they might have donated like a lot of stuff. They're like, oh, just come on the ship for the day, just film. You're
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Just make sure you give us the
absolutely.
footage as well when you get done, so we can use that in our
Yeah.
commercials.
Oh, they do it.
Yeah,
They're collaborating.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, this uptick in social media, I think it's going to eventually plateau, and then we're going to start to realize. I look at this a lot because I talk to so many people on my show about health and wellness and stuff, and I always think about social media and film, kind of like our eating habits and our health. You know, there was like, if you Google 1950s, since that's obviously the age group that we've been talking about this podcast. If you Google 1950s beach and you see all the people in the 1950s, they were beautiful. They were all in shape and fit. And then, fast food came out, and then we started eating like shit,
Oh, yeah.
right? For like 20 years.
Yeah.
And then it plateaued, and now it's kind of like dipping a little bit where people are starting to like eat
Okay.
better, and they're starting to care more about their health because we're more intelligent. We're finding more studies.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah. So I think something's going to happen with social media in the coming years, hopefully in our lifetime, to where we'll realize, oh, it's bad for our brain and our health and our mental health, and we're
Yeah.
ignoring good film. And eventually I think it'll plateau and peak, and then we'll get back like Godfather movies, Goodfellas,
I hope so.
that's
hope
the goal
so.
at least, to where, and
Yeah.
Scorsese, guys like Scorsese are really helping with that, I think, bringing back some good films. I mean, aside from The Irishman, which was good, but it was kind of hard to watch. It was pretty long.
Yeah, I used to make a joke about it. Say, on stage, I'd say, "Well, I'm in season 3 of The Irishman. Anybody seen that?"
That's actually really
particular one.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really just went on and on. And it was 3 hours, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. It was a little over 3 hours, but yeah, it was.
I didn't have a problem with it because I love anything with Scorsese and De Niro.
Well, the
Like,
fact
okay.
he brought back Pesci
Yeah,
for that collab and them to
Yeah.
do it, I was like, I watched the whole thing straight up, but yeah, my wife couldn't do it. It's an acquired taste, movies like The Departed and,
Yeah.
some of his greatest films are, you don't have to necessarily know the mafia, but just his style of filmmaking. And I forget what movie I saw that was kind of like, it wasn't a movie, it was the series Ozark.
yeah,
That type of like directing, and Jason Bateman directed a lot of the stuff, but that type of style of film, it's beautiful. It's not super fancy, but it's like it keeps you engaged, and you feel the characters, and that type of stuff's cool to watch, man.
yeah. It is. It is. And people always wind up going back to, the bread and butter.
That's right.
The comfort food, right? Literally and figuratively. People want to feel something that means something,
Yeah, that's right. You got it.
Yeah.
Well,
Spoken like a 60-year-old.
no, but this was good, man. It was good to shoot the shit with you. And like I said, we're almost at an hour.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, it was fun. And of course, I'll share it, share everything with you when I post it. But for people that don't know, that want to find you, you're at Bob the Suit. But anything else they need to know, maybe a website or something else you want to shout out?
BobPhillipsComedy.com. That's where you can see all my dates, upcoming shows, and, clips and better stuff from Twitter and, TikTok. Yeah, it's handpicked stuff, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Bob Phillips, ladies and gentlemen. Bob, thanks for being on the show, man. We appreciate it. Keep doing your thing, man. Keep comedy alive. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, hey there. I'm glad you made it to the end. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm sure you're going to like all the other podcasts that I've done. You could check out some more videos right here, whether you're watching me on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. I would love you forever, even more than I already do. And tell a friend who needs to hear it. Until next time, we'll see you later. Peace.